Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the Department for International Trade's UK-ASEAN Technical and Vocational Education and Training Showcase. We will begin this showcase at 8:05 this morning. That is 16:05 in the Philippines. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining the Department for International Trade's UK-ASEAN Technical and Vocational Education and Training Workshop. This workshop will begin at 8:05 UK time or 16:05 Philippines time. In the meantime, please make yourself a drink, sit comfortably. We'll be back with you in 2 minutes. Thank you very much indeed for your patience. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the Department for International Trade's UK-ASEAN Technical and Vocational Education and Training Showcase. We will begin the showcase in 1 minute. This session will be recorded, and so you can view a recording of it after the event. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. My name is Jonathan Ledger and I am the TVET specialist for the Department for International Trade. Welcome to the department's UK-ASEAN Technical and Vocational Education and Training Specialist. The webinar will now begin. Today we have two great speakers as part of this week-long showcase of TVET expertise from the UK working in the ASEAN region. Today's speakers are fantastic. So we have Rachel Thomas from Energy and Utility Skills, and we have Tim Dawkins from NOCN Awarding Organisation, and Tim is the head of the Asia region for the organisation. But first we're going to start with Rachel Thomas from Energy and Utility. Rachel, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan, and good morning, everyone. My name's Rachel Thomas. I'm the Finance and Assurance Director at Energy and Utility Skills. That's it. I'm going to take you through our case study on our national water hygiene scheme this morning. So firstly, a little bit about Energy and Utility Skills. So we are the Sector Skills Council in the UK for the gas, power, water and waste management industries. We provide a number of services, and these include membership, assurance and skills solution. And they're all in our purpose, which is to help employers in the utilities sector attract, develop and retain a sustainable and skilled workforce. Our membership includes the major infrastructure companies within these industries, as well as their supply chain and contractors. water hygiene practices. Safe, clean drinking water is vital to public health as well as wider society's well-being. So water should be clean, clear and safe to drink. As we know, water can carry diseases and become contaminated, which if you drink contaminated water can cause serious illness. So public confidence in drinking water quality is of paramount importance, and it's vital that the same high standards of hygiene practices required in food production are maintained in the water production, distribution and supply processes. We, Energy and Utility Skills, have developed the National Water Hygiene Scheme in collaboration with all UK water companies, as well as their regulator, the Drinking Water Inspectorate. The National Water Hygiene Scheme is a training programme with assessment. And just move on, Jonathan, please. Thank you. The scheme's based on nationally agreed standards and it replaced individual water company schemes. So it has removed duplication of training. The scheme provides individuals that work on water networks with the knowledge and importantly the behaviours to maintain the highest water hygiene practices. We have an e-learning programme and this consists of 9 modules. Once completed, there's an assessment at the end which is automatically marked. Individuals that successfully pass are issued with a photo ID card and it's known as the blue card. No surprises, it is actually blue. And they're registered on EUSR. EUSR is our register of training and skills for the UK's energy and utilities sector. It's available online 24/7. What this means is for those people who control access to operational sites on the water network, they can check that individuals trying to get access for work have a valid National Water Hygiene card. In terms of the benefits of the scheme, they are numerous. For the individuals that complete the scheme, they have the knowledge and behaviours to apply good water hygiene practices. And it has been proven that these good water hygiene practices prevent contamination, they prevent the spread of disease and maintain the quality of drinking water. In the UK, all water companies mandate the training and registration on the National Water Hygiene Scheme. It gives them confidence that anyone working in contact with the public water supply thinks carefully about water hygiene practices, manages the risks they may face when doing their work, and understands best practice. For water regulators, they also support the scheme. It's all part of promoting the public health culture. So the scheme provides high standards and promotes high standards of water hygiene and safety. And this ensures drinking water remains clean, clear and safe to drink, making sure consumers are protected. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much indeed, Rachel. Really interesting to hear about that scheme and its applicability potentially overseas in other countries, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Now we're going to hand over the controls to Tim Dawkins, and Tim is from NOCN. He's the ASEAN Regional Manager, and Tim, it's over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon if you're in Southeast Asia, as I am. I am the ASEAN Regional Manager for the NOCN Group. Again, as Rachel did, I'll tell you a little bit about our organisation. We are a UK awarding organisation. We manage and create qualifications which are used and delivered across the further education sector, the TVET sector in the UK. We were established in 1987, but we've been working internationally now for nearly 8 years. We offer qualifications in 12 different education sectors, and we currently manage about 700 different qualifications. Next slide, please, Jonathan. We've been working in Malaysia now for about 2 years. Our model of operation has changed recently. With the recent lockdowns and pandemic, we've decided to establish a permanent office in Kuala Lumpur. We had to change our model of traveling around the region to meet customers and drive business to a model of creating a central location here in Kuala Lumpur where we will run our ASEAN business. As a result of being based in the region, you get closer to the market, closer to your customers. So we have a greater understanding of what the market requires from us, which is key, obviously, to operating successfully. We're aware that Malaysia has strong TVET qualifications which are used within the country, but those qualifications have limited recognition outside of Malaysia. And Malaysian workers are often restricted from their opportunities overseas because of those qualifications. We know that local government funding can be secured if you have third-party accreditation or international accreditation. We've also learned that the requirements of Ofqual are sometimes a challenge to markets outside the UK, and that we need to adapt how we operate to work with training providers and colleges and institutions outside of the UK. We also are aware that the UK qualifications have a great appeal all around the globe, and they bring us customers from everywhere. But that those UK qualifications are not always the ideal solution. And often we have to work with customers to create a qualification that gives a much more relevant outcome from that training and fits with local requirements. We operate in that area under what we call accreditation services, where we work with training providers to create qualifications and endorse them. And those are the examples that I'm going to share with you today. Next slide, please, Jonathan. So there's some challenges for us coming to work in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, some points of learning for us. As an organisation, we need to flex more. Being a UK educational authority, some of our strength is in our systems and our processes. But to be successful in a new international market, we need to adapt how we're responding to people. We need to look at our qualifications. Are they suitable for the market? We need to look at our pricing. We need to look at our support and adapt that to meet the local requirements, while still remaining true to the quality standards that we adhere to from Ofqual. For centres, when we go and visit training centres, we find that there's often a difference between their expectation of how they're going to operate with the UK. And so we have to, again, have a very kind of collaborative approach to talking about how we can work successfully together. Next slide, please, Jonathan. So if we look at some of those solutions, it's around collaboration. It's about tailoring what we offer. It's about creating programs that are to international standards, to UK standards, but are delivering local outputs that meet real local training requirements for individuals and for businesses. By getting closer to our customers, we pull apart education jargon, education language to make sure we have a full understanding of what we're offering and what the local training sector needs. For centres, we can work with centres to create programs that are exactly the right length, level, cover the right subjects, adhere to the right laws, and are delivered in the right language through our accreditation services. So working with NOCN accreditation services, we're allowed to create programs that really meet the local requirements. And that's been key to the 2 case studies that I'm just going to share with you. Next slide, please, Jonathan. The first of the 2 centres I'd like to talk to you about is an organisation called Wild Geese Group. They are based in Kuala Lumpur and have been operating in the training sector in this region for about 15 years. They work in the oil and gas emergency response sector particularly. Private organisation were very, very keen to create a programme that recognised both experience and industry skills in a more comprehensive and recognised qualification. They wanted to create full level 4, 5 and 6 qualifications relating to the UK education system to recognise the skills of the sector. So we've worked with them over the last 6 months to map in their existing qualifications, to look at what needs to be assessed and built into those qualifications. And they're now running this suite of qualifications in the oil and gas sector. Their cohort of learners comes from well-experienced people in that industry who are looking for recognition for hard-earned experience and a range of industry qualifications. Recognition of prior achievement was a key element of this and a key part of sharing knowledge between the two organisations to make sure that they were carrying out this work appropriately. This organisation as well, they're particularly well adapted to the change in training restrictions driven by COVID. They've taken a very live, interactive, scenario-based training session that used to happen in their simulated environment in the office and put that online. And you often see as many trainers on one session as there are students taking the session to keep it interactive and keep it viable and meeting the outputs required. Next slide, please, Jonathan. The second centre, a similar approach, different centre, similar approach. The qualifications they wanted from us didn't exist, so we worked with them to create a suite of qualifications that meets their needs. Over on the other side of Malaysia, in Sabah, we've worked with the Sabah Skills and Technology Centre to create a suite of 4 different qualifications designed to get young job seekers into employment. The qualifications had to both meet industry needs and be of an engaging subject that would really encourage the students to learn and progress into employment. We worked with them to write the qualifications, to create a level for the qualifications. They're generally around a UK level 2, and particularly worked with them to make sure that the assessment was correct and that it was a holistic assessment of the skills gained during the programme. We have been hindered on delivery because of the COVID and particularly the situation in Sabah, which has meant that classroom delivery has been all but killed off for a while. But the programs have been continued to be delivered online and supporting people into employment. So that's been a similar approach of working very closely with the centre to understand their needs and creating programs specifically for their learners to progress. The last slide, please, Jonathan. Everything is really built on having that closer relationship with the centre. When you want to create a qualification with a training centre that's specifically made to meet the needs of the learners of an industry, you have to get it into the detail with them. We need to understand what the government requirements are, what the funding requirements are, and this is why these relationships have been successful. And I believe this is where we've been able to add real value to those relationships. Both these organisations now offer a range of qualifications that are internationally recognised by us, but adhere really to the local requirements and fulfil the needs of local learners. And in both cases, this is leading to further work with those 2 centres to look at additional qualifications because of this initial success. Thank you for letting me share those 2 case studies with you. Jonathan, I shall pass back to you.
Tim, thank you so much indeed. Really interesting to hear about the diversity of work that NOCN is involved with across the region, and particularly those 2 case studies really demonstrating how skills programs can be developed and bespoke to the requirements of the client. I'm going to ask Rachel to come back online as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to go through the questions and answers that we've received. You can use the chat function if you haven't posted a question already, but I have had a few come in. So I'm just going to pose these questions to my colleagues and see what kind of answers we can get. So the first question, Rachel, actually is for you. It's how can we learn more about the applicability of your competence scheme for my country?
Well, we can get in contact after this after this showcase would be good. And I think it's important that the scheme covers currently just basic good water hygiene practices that will apply in any country. There are parts of the scheme that are currently, because it's a UK scheme, based on UK legislation, but they can be tailored for local countries.
Okay, great. And Rachel, staying with you, you mentioned an e-learning program. Is this a regulated qualification, and does this program certificate have validity outside the UK?
So it's not a regulated qualification. It's a scheme that we've developed with the UK water industry and recognised by them. So we're not regulated for that. However, we do follow regulated awarding body best practice. So all of our team that work in developing our schemes and delivering them all have an awarding body background. So we use the best practices. It's not a regulated qualification.
Great, thank you so much. Question for both of you. How do you engage with employers to ensure that your training content meets industry needs?
We in these two case studies particularly, we are reliant on the training organisation to take us to the centre, to take us to the employer. Often in other cases we're doing consultation directly with employers, but in these two instances we worked with the employers through the training organisation. In the case of Wild Geese, they arranged meetings with industry representatives to make sure we were delivering something that met their needs.
For us, thank you, Jonathan. For us at Engine Utility Skills, we're an employer-led organisation. So we work all UK water companies are members of us, and therefore we have direct access with members. And so meeting employers' needs is our direct route through to them.
Okay, fantastic. So really strong employer engagement at all levels, from demand all the way through to design. That's great. We've got a question on the thread, so we'll pick that one up first. Is the academy and training centres, so are they available for other states in ASEAN outside of Malaysia? And I guess the simple answer to that is yes, because we know the pandemic has made training online and made it a bit more difficult. But I guess you're on board today to showcase the fact that actually this applies to any country in any state. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're working across the ASEAN region. If we're talking specifically about the Wild Geese group, they are working globally from their office in Kuala Lumpur, and delivering that online training to oil and gas organisations really across the globe, where previously they used to do it face to face. But we as NOCN are operating across the region. Got a lot of activity in Indonesia, and also in Vietnam. So although we're based in Malaysia, we are active everywhere.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Right, next question. How can my organisation become an approved provider for your training? That's a question to both of you.
Rachel, do you want to answer first?
I'll answer first. We have an approval process, and for delivering the e-learning, you would just need to apply to us and then meet the criteria, which would go through with you. Okay,
thank you, Rachel.
Similarly, we have an approval process because of the varied nature of our work. I always like to engage with the potential customer first of all, and work through what they're looking to achieve, understand the learner journey that they're trying to accredit or cover, and then we move forward to approving that centre and working with them on the training. The first step is to get in touch.
Thanks so much. Next question. How do you ensure that your qualifications meet the future training needs? So, you know, what I guess what they're asking here is, what is the review process or the review cycle? What does that look like? Thanks. Tim, we'll start with you and then go to Rachel.
We have two types of qualifications. We have regulated qualifications, which are those overseen by Ofqual, and we have the endorsed programs. Today we've been talking about the endorsed programs, and we would carry out at least an annual review, if not more often, with that centre to check that their qualification that they've developed with us is still meeting the needs of their business and of industry. And we would look at the assessment and also the content. When it comes to regulated qualifications, there is a regular review process, and when there's any change to laws or any change to industry standards, then that qualification is updated and the old qualification is withdrawn. Like Rachel, we work with employers behind and supporting all of our 650 qualifications, and our qualifications team is constantly busy reviewing and updating our vocational qualifications.
Thank you so much. Rachel?
It's similar for us. We have an annual review process of our National Water Hygiene Scheme. We have an established group of employers that we work with to do that. And for any changes in good practice or any current issues, they're then reflected in the scheme. We also, obviously, as part of that review of the content of the scheme, also look at the assessment to make sure that it's valid and fit for purpose.
Great. Here's an interesting question. So we're a training centre that could do with some help in upgrading our quality and our teaching staff. Do you offer support as part of the package to enable that to happen?
A very quick answer is yes. We would work with a training centre depending on their desire to improve and move their standards forward. We can work with centres to help them achieve a higher standard of teaching, of quality assurance, and of delivery. We have a range of qualifications and partners that would support you with that, as well as working with us to achieve those goals.
Thank you, Tim. Rachel, anything to add to that?
No, nothing to add. I think that's covered.
Okay, so we've just got two more questions then. Are any of the qualifications that you are both delivering, any of the programmes, accepted in other countries across ASEAN via the ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework, for example, or in other ways?
So for us, currently our scheme is a UK-based scheme, so it would need to be, if people are interested in using it in other countries, it would need to be tailored for those local regions. So no, not at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
We are working with regulators in several different countries to make sure that our qualifications are valid in those regions. In Malaysia, we're able to do this on a qualification by qualification case because of the funding model there. We are making inroads into getting recognition for our qualifications in Indonesia and are part of a larger initiative there to link Indonesian and UK skills called the Indonesian-UK Skills Alliance. So we are looking to forge those links and to find those connections. We're very fortunate that UK qualifications and our structure is so widely recognised and adopted by other countries. Very fortunate.
Great, thank you, Tim. Now, I have two final questions, Tim, and it looks like they're both for NOCN. So the first one is, you mentioned online training as part of the qualifications delivery during the pandemic. Is that then accepted by governments? That's the online delivery mode?
I think that is an interesting subject because, and I've only been here a little while, but I know that online delivery has not historically been funded and supported by many governments in Southeast Asia. They value the face-to-face experience. However, during the pandemic, we've seen this shift. We've seen a shift out of necessity to fund and support online learning. And I think it's going to be quite hard to reverse that in all areas. I think there's some sectors where you need that face-to-face, you need that practical passing on of skills, but I think there has been kind of a watershed moment, I hope, where people understand that you can gain knowledge by studying online. And I think that a good percentage of that will stay with us post-pandemic.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the questions, actually. I'd like to reinforce huge thanks to my colleagues, Tim Dawson from NOCN and also Rachel Thomas from Energy and Utility Skills. My name is Jonathan Ledger. I'm from the Department for International Trade. It's been our pleasure to be with you today. We do have